Hi there, Dory Sukup here, founder of Inspiration Management. I am here at the Win at the Aesthetic Show, and we are live. I have very special guests for you this afternoon. I have Alex Thiersch. He's the founder of AM Spa, and also Michael Bird, who is of Bird and Adado. They are founders of a law firm in Dallas, Texas. We are here today to talk about how important it is to have your business be safe and secure and be in compliance with the laws. So I'm so happy to have you both here. Welcome. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
So I've had the pleasure actually to work with Alex and Michael for a long time, and they do a great job. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is one thing that I'm always stressing about is we have the wild, wild west now. So many places are running wild. They don't know what to do. They don't know the law. It's just so confusing. So how do you guys help practices and medical spa actually stay in compliance and educate them on how to be better and be safe and secure?
Why don't you start with AM Spa?
Yeah, so there's a couple components to it. It's a great question, and it's one that we deal with all the time. It's like the underbelly of this industry that people don't really want to talk about, but it's becoming increasingly important. So AM Spa, the American Med Spa Association, which I run, that's our shtick, is we provide our members with compliance information. Business and compliance, but primarily our offering is if you become a member, you get access to the laws of your particular state. Now, so we couldn't do any of that without the help of Bert Adado and Michael and his partner Brad. So together what we've done is managed over the course of probably 2.5 years at least, just summarized the various laws in every particular state so that the folks know what to do. And it's not easy, easy. And that's what, Michael can talk more about. Compliance is really, it's a journey. It's not something you can just switch on and switch off.
Right.
You've got to think about it and work at it.
The one thing that bothers me quite a bit is that there's not a federal law. It should just be the same for every state. I don't understand why it's not.
Well, and I'll punt it to you here in a second. Recently we are going to be launching what we think is exactly what needs to happen. Is everyone needs to get on the same page and say, here's the law that we are all going to follow.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, and Michael can talk more about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and the hard part, because it would be easier if we had one law that governed everybody, is that it really is the practice of medicine. At the end of the day, aesthetic services, med spa services are considered the practice of medicine, and that's governed by the state medical boards. And so you have this wide discrepancy of laws that differ literally state by state, and then you have laws that don't keep up with the advances. If you think about where the med spa world is now versus what it was 10 years ago,
Right.
It's light years different. Well, the laws have been built many, many years before 10 years ago.
Right.
And so what you have is an uneducated public and regulators who don't really know what to do with it. And oftentimes they kind of lean towards more aggressive enforcement based on the traditional laws that they put in place governing the practice of medicine.
The thing is, there are so many gray areas, and I've heard you guys speak, and you're going to be speaking actually as at the show here. It's so amazing to me, all the gray areas, even when you call the government.
I wouldn't even suggest doing that.
Yes, don't even call them. You get different answers depending on who answers the phone. So how do you even weave through all that confusion to come up with good advice for your clients?
It is difficult. It takes a team, and one of the biggest things we talk about at our speeches is don't be a lone wolf. Do not try to navigate this by yourself. This is what we do for a living, and we don't do that. Because what will happen is you get into a gray area, and you then have to advise the client on a position to take on it. Can an RN in the state of Washington own a med spa?
Right.
And I use that example because we've actually shifted positions as we've gotten more information in this gray area.
So it used to be yes, and now it's a no?
It used to be no.
Oh, and now it's a
yes. Right. And that's happening. We do see as the regulators become more educated, stuff that makes sense to us in the industry see things that make sense. We know that RNs in doing non-invasive treatments are often no more than the other providers. They're the ones
Right.
with the relationships with the patients, dealing with the experiences with the patients, and doing, in the
Yeah.
case of injectables, the injections.
Now, I know that you help people create an MSO because there are many states, as you mentioned, where a doctor cannot, or a non-doctor, non-physician cannot own. So how would an entrepreneur that want to open up a medical spa go around that with your help? Can you explain that to us a little bit?
Absolutely. And so the
30
important
seconds.
30
MSOs.
seconds
Go.
management service. MSO
Good luck with that.
is a management service organization, and it is becoming the market in the med spa space. That's where private equity and the business people are going to get into this space. And the model is essentially you divide the business side of a med spa into a separate entity called an MSO, and then you set up the clinical side correctly according to that state's laws, which oftentimes is 100% MD ownership. And then you have kind of the foundation of that whole model is the management services agreement. It's a contract on steroids between the two entities that governs the rights and responsibilities of both parties, and you have to design it to make the business plan work the way they want the business plan to work.
I'll tell you, one of the biggest objections I get from my clients regarding the MSO is like, oh my gosh, so the physician is going to own the company, and how is that going to interfere with me as an entrepreneur, and would that be good for me to do? So that's a big red flag for them. So how do you overcome that?
Well, usually I bring it up before they say it, because the moment in time that you tell them that the patients have to pay for their treatments to the medical entity,
Yes.
I will stop and say, okay, I know you're asking how's that going to work. You're
Yes.
telling me money's going into a business entity that I don't own, and now my business is over here. What happens if the doctor goes rogue on me
Right.
and takes the money? The management services agreement has several tools that help reduce that risk. There's always the risk that could happen. To date, we have not had that happen in any of our MSOs. One of the key things we do is in the management agreement, we give a power of attorney to the management company to have the right and responsibility to manage the bank account as the money comes into the medical entity.
And this is why you really need to, there's a firm like Bertadato out there that can help with these things, because it's got to be crafted
Solid.
correctly.
Yeah.
Because there's mechanisms in there that maybe it will happen, but at least you can catch it and you can stop it. This is all to me, and kudos to you, Dory, and to the Aesthetic Show. I mean, what this is really education, just trying to get people to know that these laws are out there, because most of the time we're talking to people, it's not that they're trying to break the rules. They don't even know these rules exist.
yeah.
And we as lawyers operate in this spectrum of gray, which it's very difficult to say, yes, this is the answer. It's how much risk do you want to take?
Right.
Here's what's going to happen if you get caught. Here's the risk of you getting caught. Here's what we think they're going to say. But you just don't know. And we've just got to get people to know that this is happening.
Yeah.
And I've heard your talks, and you always mention things like fee splitting, kickbacks, and you've got a great compensation program that we like. And that's what we just need. We just need to keep talking about this and get it out there. That's what AmSpa does.
Thank you. But that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, that they are breaking the law. And it's nice to inform them and let them know, because they have no idea. I had a client in Texas. She was a non-nurse, and after attending many of your events, I'm like, she was injecting people. I'm like, you can't be injecting people.
Yeah.
So they basically came down and she almost ruined her physician's practice.
Yeah.
So there's so many mistakes that are happening like this, that people need to know that you have to hire somebody to make sure that you understand the law, and that to know whether you are being safe or you're crossing the line.
And Michael's very good at scaring people and then bringing them back.
Yes. Well, I do. I have a story that I think illustrates this, because most providers do not believe cool sculpting to be the practice of medicine, that's so non-invasive that anybody can do it. And I had in Dallas in February a board-certified plastic surgeon who was a client but didn't call, because all he was doing was a little joint venture with another person who's not a doctor to have a cool sculpting machine in one of the rooms in his plastic surgery office. And the second patient that walked into the door was a setup. It was a competitor sent someone in, turned them into the medical board. No bad outcome, in fact, a good outcome. And the medical board is taking it seriously and wanting to make an example out of both of them, both the plastic surgeon and the non-doctor.
And that's the sad thing, is most people that get you in trouble is either a disgruntled employee or your competition. That's what's so sad.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
Yeah.
Not a good thing. All right, well, thank you so much. How would someone get a hold of you if they need to get in touch?
Well, you can always find AmericanMedSpa.org is AmSpa's website, and then you can find Bertadotto through that, or bertadotto.com, which is BYRDADATTO.com.
Good spelling there, Alex.
Good job.
I had to have gotten that one right, or that would have
Thank
been
you,
problems.
guys. It was such a pleasure
Thanks,
to
Dory.
have you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you all for watching. Dory Sukup here at the Aesthetic Show, wrapping up.